Police Quest always stood out to me as the odd one out in the Sierra Adventure lineup. You had King's Quest for your fantasy, Space Quest for your sci-fi, and neither of those series took themselves particularly seriously. Police Quest, on the other hand, was neither fantasy nor sci-fi. It was reality. A lot of it was very boring reality. It was a game that most people will fondly remember as an interactive American police protocol following simulation. So specific it was with its American police protocol following simulation, you spent most of the game getting fired or wandering around not knowing what to do, because even when you weren't filling in paperwork or making sure you had the right equipment for the job, the puzzles themselves were on the heavy end of the obtuse spectrum. As most of you will know, and those who don't know will be hugely unsurprised by, Police Quest was written by ex-California Highway Patrol officer Jim Walls.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, it was.
He had no idea how computers worked, but he did know how to fill out a speeding ticket. And that's all it took for Sierra to hire him to write not one, but 3 of the Police Quest games before he left the studio in the early 90s. And truthfully, I thought that was it for Jim. I thought he'd packed up his evidence bags and left the industry, returning to a life of filling out paperwork every time he so much as spoke to another human. But I've since come to learn that he actually headed off to Westwood Studios and worked on the wonderful Blade Runner. I've no idea what he did on Blade Runner, but that's fine because we're not here to talk about that game. I've already talked about that game. Prior to Westwood, he actually joined another studio, Tsunami Media, in 1992. Now, these guys weren't exactly top billing during their stint in the early 90s, with games such as Ringworld's Revenge of the Patriarch, voted the 14th worst computer game ever released by Computer Gaming World, Man Enough, which only sold 30,000 copies, and Protostar War on the Frontier, which only has one review I can track down and it got 1 out of 5 stars. What better studio to spearhead a new Jim Walls game that definitely isn't Police Quest, because it's not called Police Quest, it's called Blue Force, and even though it's written by Jim Walls, it definitely doesn't feature the same police busywork he was obsessed with emulating in the Police Quest series, right? Doesn't feature any of that, right? Does it? Oh, it does. Yeah, it's basically Police Quest, but Police Quest is fondly remembered, so this should be okay.
You've got mail.
Blue Force was voted the 37th worst computer game ever released by Computer Gaming World. Well,
Roxanne, you don't have to put on.
Now, Blue Force has some good things going for it. I don't necessarily agree with Computer Gaming World's idea that it's literally one of the worst computer games ever made. I mean, it looks nice. There's always something about the early 90s and their big chunky point-and-click pixels that get me jazzed. But equally, the captured footage mixed in with that aesthetic gives the game a sort of retro-realistic look that has only ever really been popular in this small pocket of time in the 90s. And it wasn't that popular then. The soundtrack, while not exactly the kind of thing you're going to rush out and buy for your nerd collection, has some decent tracks on it, like this one you get at the dock. I mean, it's quite clearly taking heavy inspiration from Bruce Hornsby's The Way It Is, but I'll take it. A legally distinct police quest using legally distinct musical inspirations is pretty poetic. So none of that is really the issue, and a lot of what is wrong with Blue Force can be levelled at a lot of point-and-click games, both pre- and post-1993. I'm sure if you're a point-and-click fanatic, you'll be able to preempt what those issues are. The biggest one here, though, is timing. Blue Force came out during what would be considered the end of the golden age when it comes to games like this. In this year alone, you had Day of the Tentacle, Space Quest 5, Leisure Suit Larry 6, and another Police Quest sequel. And the advent of CD-ROM games meant even Seventh Guest was more likely to get a look in than Jim Wall's latest police drama. If you wanted to stand out at this point in history with a game that required you to both point and click on things, you better make damn sure you do something different. And if there's one thing Blue Force doesn't do, it's anything extraordinary. I'll be upfront with you here, I haven't enjoyed playing through this, but I have enjoyed laughing at it. The writing is awful, the story and dialogue sometimes causing me to actually laugh out loud by accident. It's full of spelling errors, it rarely makes any logical sense, and the puzzles on offer are that weird mix of being incomprehensible, directionless, and sometimes completely at odds with the fact you're supposed to be playing as a police officer. You know, someone whose job it is to uphold laws, apparently. The game is incredibly short, taking place over just 4 in-game days, and those days get shorter and shorter each time you hit a new one. That's mostly due to the game changing from the classic Jim Wall's police simulator into what can only be described as maverick renegade cop forgets he has a day job and solves crimes with brutality. And I really do mean that. Day 4 is wild. Let me just rewind the tape though. Straight back to the intro segment, which I actually think looks pretty cool for the time. It's clearly trying to emulate cop shows and films of that period, and it does a pretty decent job of it. You've got to love that siren noise, though. It sounds like the world's smallest police car in pursuit of criminals. The intro sets us up, wordlessly, with the premise of the game, and I've got to be honest, I had no real idea what was going on until an exposition dump in day 2. But basically, you play as a cop named Officer Jake Ryan, whose parents were killed over a decade ago. They were also police officers, or maybe just the dad was, I don't know. It doesn't really matter until you play fetch with a dog, to be honest. That's the logic of Blue Force. Now, sadly, there's no voice work in the game. The entire thing is text-based, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little sad about that. The writing here puts me in mind of something like The Room.
How was work today? Oh, pretty good. We got a new client at the bank. We'll make a lot of money.
Or Fateful Findings.
I resigned today as president of the bank.
The truly awful dialogue on offer here absolutely needed to be voiced by downtrodden amateurs itching for a payday, and I was a little sad to miss out on it. I didn't want you, though, the viewer, to suffer that same disappointment I had to deal with, so instead, I got a group of budding volunteers together to create the perfect voiceover work for some of my favourite scenes in the game. Here I gathered some Patreons as well as other YouTube channels, and I gave them brief descriptions of what I thought the characters might sound like based simply on their faces. I didn't show them the game, nor really give them any direction. I felt like the game deserved nothing more than the most amateurish rendition from our budding Don Johnsons as possible. Our first perfect example of this, on arriving at the police station, Officer Ryan, the world's most wooden cop, meets his first fellow human.
My name's Ryan. What's yours?
Name's Barry. Nice to meet you, Ryan.
So how's it going, Barry?
I've got the best garage sale in town, Ryan.
So how's it going, Barry?
I've got the best garage sale in town, Ryan.
After the initial police briefing, in which you're very specifically told that you need to ensure you have backup because the streets are getting very dangerous, you're then just left to your own devices. On your first day at work as a police officer. Your first day. Just keep that in mind when you consider the amount of organised crime you deal with over the course of this game. Anyway, going out the back door is absolutely not the correct thing to do, so don't do that.
So how's it going, Barry?
I've got the best garage sale in town, Ryan.
With Barry offering no help whatsoever, you'll soon remember that this is a Jim Walls game, and you'll pick up your briefing for the day. Hop on your bike, press the ignition key, and be confronted with the world's worst game map.
Where do I come from? And where am I going?
Absolutely nothing on this map is highlighted, so you need to wave your cursor around until some text pops up to tell you that it is, in fact, a place you can visit. Try to remember where those places are because you're going to spend most of your time in this map segment just trying to find them again. I visit the docks, the bowling alley, Grandma's house, and Tony's bar before I realise that I haven't actually read what my briefing is. This is my first day on the force, after all, so I can easily forgive myself. Forrest Follett, a man wanted for burglary of the Strathmore Military Armoury, might be in possession of rifles and ammunition. Now, I think we can all agree this is the perfect first job for a rookie cop. Regardless, this piece of paper gives us absolutely no indication of where the perp is, so it's back to aimless wandering. Ahead to Jameson and Ryan, back to the police station, and then back to the marina again, where finally, something is now actually happening for us to deal with.
Please help my mum.
I'm Officer Ryan, ma'am. What can you tell me about this incident?
Oh, officer, I'm so glad you're here. I found Skip crying over by Mr. Carter's. It's at Bradford Green. He's beating people up again. Just look how he's beaten this poor little boy.
Please help my mum.
It's here that you'll need your manual for some good old-fashioned Jim Wall's patented police procedure goodness. Heading back to the bike, you'll need to send out a radio code or two, and of course it doesn't just tell you what they mean in-game, that'd be too easy. You need to break out the manual to work out what half of these pointless numbers mean. And I do mean half of them are useless. You literally never need to do a 1013, for instance, which is a weather check. What am I going to do? Arrest a cloud? Not in this lifetime.
The boy's mother is still there with the guy, officer. After finding Skip crying by Mr. Carter's, I started to take him back to the yacht. I heard screaming coming from Bradford Green's yacht, so I brought Skip here. It's pretty quiet now, but I'm afraid something awful has happened.
Where is this yacht, ma'am?
It's about 8 skips down, on the left. Oh no! Something terrible has happened! Please, go help!
After calling for backup, then almost walking off without the backup, remembering that I did call backup and going back to get said backup, it's time to meet Officer Doofy Doug.
What's going on, Ryan?
Well, Doug, let's get to it.
You didn't answer the question.
It's from this point onwards in the game that you're going to want to keep multiple save states, and do so constantly, because unless you do absolutely everything 100% correctly, you're going to die, and you're going to end up with having to restart the entire game all over again. There's no autosaving here. This was 1993. Autosaving was for wimps, and the only way to know exactly what it is you're supposed to do is through the wonderful and wacky world of trial and error. You know, just like how real police officers deal with things. It puts me in mind of the time my good friend Ian woke up to find a smashed glass in his kitchen and refused to accept that his cat had knocked it off the table based on the fact the smashed glass was under the table. So he did an experiment to prove to everyone that the cat definitely couldn't have smashed the glass. This was only about 10% trial and about 90% error, and his experiment proved him entirely wrong. But not content with breaking one glass, when he got his floor replaced, he was then convinced that it definitely wouldn't happen again. And he was right, but he still had to clean up a lot of broken glass, so I'm not sure it was worth the trial and error in the first place. That sums up Blue Force pretty nicely. Sure, you can try out a load of things and one of them might work, but is it really worth it? Being shot in the head is my first glass smashing under a table. On the second attempt, I remember to actually equip my gun and things go far, far smoother.
This is the police and we're coming in.
You pigs, come any closer and I'll blow your brains out. Drop your guns, you tin badge punks, or you can kiss this broad goodbye.
Think about what you're doing, man. Give it up and let the woman go.
Fuck yourself, pig.
Please, do what he says. Don't let him hurt me anymore.
That's right. You better listen to the poor little girl. Now you boys, put your guns down nice and easy. Let me out, and little Miss Priss lives.
You're only digging yourself a deeper hole, man. Let the woman go.
Over my dead body.
Oh, please, don't let him shoot me.
Time's running out, little boy Blue.
Please, please, he means what he says.
I'm not gonna stand by and watch her die, Jake. I'm dropping my gun.
You better show the same common sense as your partner, fool.
Now at this point, all I've been doing is talking to Bradford Green, but it didn't seem to be working, so I attempted to shoot him in the head now that my partner had stupidly dropped his gun like a massive fanny. Oh, bollocks. Well, diplomacy it is then.
You harm anyone here and you're one dead punk. They'll need a bucket and shovel to pick up all that'll be left of you, scumbag.
It actually worked.
Yes, that's right. This entire situation is resolved just by using the talk action multiple times, which is an annoyingly common trope in this game that decides it wants to be realistic when it comes to how police should actually be dealing with a situation, instead of letting me kill everyone like the psychopath I am. Anyway, it's not exactly the most thrilling way to deal with a hostage situation, but I doubt things would have gone in my favour anyway, considering I've forgotten to load my gun. After cuffing the suspect, searching them, taking any weapons and other evidence gubbins, we start to talk to the victim in all of this, who instantly changes from this dishevelled, terrified woman into this beaming, well-kept mother of the year.
Could I have your name, please, ma'am?
Laura Dixon. Is my son all right?
He didn't look too bad.
Please help my mum.
Can you tell me what happened here?
Well, first Brad got drunk. Then he started yelling at my son because his baseball cards were all over the floor. And just because Skip wasn't picking them up fast enough, Brad grabbed Skip and started beating him. When I tried to stop him, he threw Skip on the floor and turned on me. When I started screaming, he threw me against the table. When you got here, he grabbed me again. Then he took out his gun and pulled me into the bedroom and, well, you know the rest.
This entire account of what happened is so unnecessarily specific, and I can only presume they've put all of this in the description to try and show you, the player, why the front room was in a mess. But, I mean, you probably work that out yourself anyway. I don't need this exceptionally happy domestic abuse victim to explain every single fucking limb movement that occurred over the past hour.
I'm very sorry you and your son had to go through this, Miss Dixon.
I'm indebted to you, officer. My son and I could be dead right now. I just don't know how to thank you.
You still seem to be a bit shaken up. The paramedics are here. Why don't you go out and let them have a look at you?
You pigs may take me in, but you'll never hold me.
I'll drop Mr. Personality here at the slammer for you.
You may not care about your own life, Doug, but don't ever give your gum up when you're backing me up.
You're right, Jake. I really blew that one. Sorry.
Let me tell you something, you slimy little rent-a-cop. If I didn't have these handcuffs on, I'd be hamburger meat out of you.
After all that excitement, it's time to relax by calling in some random numbers on a walkie-talkie and filling in some paperwork at the local jail. But don't worry, there's more paperwork and rigmarole to deal with. Heading back to the police station.
So how's it going?
I've got the best garage sale in town, Ryan.
We need to hand in all evidence and do some more paperwork. Jesus Christ, Jim Walls, why do you do this? With all that taken care of, there's no direction on what to do next, but hopping on your bike and heading anywhere outdoors will introduce the next crime scene automatically. A traffic stop with two people who are apparently wearing gang colours, and I presume they're supposed to be Hispanic based on the fact they both sound like they're repping Cypress Hill. But they're played by two of the whitest people I've ever seen. If these guys aren't narcs, I'll eat my own stash.
You get in my face and I'll pop you, man.
Stay where you are and put your hands in the air.
Shit, why you owe, Holmes? You pushing this shit too far, man.
I said, put your hands in the...
You dead, sucker.
As I said, this game is all completely trial and error, and most of your trials will involve trying to do cool stuff before realizing the game just wants you to talk to everyone instead of doing anything exciting. What you need to do, of course, is call for backup, as well as call in a bunch of other random numbers. Then, ensure you take out your ticket book from this side panel on your bike you probably won't have noticed for hours. Once backup does arrive, you can proceed with standard, boring police protocol.
Keep your hands where I can see them.
Damn, Holmes. Why are you riding my jock, man?
Watch the other guy, Doug. I'll deal with this clown.
Go for it, Jake. I've got you covered.
Why were you two trying to lose me? You hiding something in the truck?
I don't got to tell you nothing, man. I watch TV. I know my rights.
Come on, hotshot. What's in the truck?
I don't know, Holmes. You tell me. You, the chump with the badge.
Thanks for the invitation, Mouth.
Mouth? I don't got to take that shit from you, man.
Assume the position.
You'd like that, huh, bitch?
After searching the first criminal, we find a concealed weapon, and then we go to speak to our second undercover narc.
Driver, step out of the vehicle slowly.
Oh, Holmes, this is shit, man. We didn't do nothing.
Step out of the vehicle now. You were trying pretty hard to lose me. What have you got to hide?
Lose you for what? I got nothing to hide from your pig ass. Yo, Holmes, hide this. You can't do nothing to me, man. Just back the hell off me, man.
I tell you, if someone said that to me in that accent, I'd back the hell off them.
Once our criminals are headed off to jail, you can search the car for evidence of a crime, which is a funny way of dealing with a crime scene. Arrest someone and send them to jail, and then check the car to see if there's any criminal activity going on. Good police work, that. This is one of the many hunt the pixel until you find the thing the game wants you to find segments. You have to be so precise on some of these segments. It actually pains me to think how long it would have taken people back on release to actually find any of this stuff. Firstly, you need to get these bullets out of a compartment, and secondly, you need to click this handle that's 90% off screen in order to find a wig and a gun. With all this evidence in tow, you can be damn sure we've got a whole host of exciting paperwork to do, so it's off to the jail to get the forms filled in, then it's back to the police station to hand in a mountain of evidence, one by one.
I've got some great toys for you today, Barry.
Looks like you've been busy today, Ryan.
Somebody's got to keep the bad guys in their place.
I've got the best garage sale.
At the end of each day, you'll head back to Grandma Frannie's house, and I know we're still on day 1 of 4 in this game, but I promise you, this game absolutely front-loads you with stuff on the first day and then just slowly starts to give up as the game goes on, bored of its own existence.
Oh, Jake, Child Protective Services called for you earlier. The little boy, Skip, seems to have lost a baseball card at the marina. The caseworker wanted you to try to find it and bring it down to the CPS building tonight if you can. He's hysterical over losing it, and they're hoping the card will help calm him down.
For crying out loud, what are they calling me for? I've had a long day and...
Jake, I'm surprised at you. That little boy has certainly had a more difficult day than you have. I thought I raised you better than that.
But, Gran...
Do you remember the time your father, God rest his soul, went out and got you that special baseball card when you broke your leg? That poor little boy doesn't have a father. You of all people should know what that's like.
Okay, for the record, I am completely on Officer Ryan's side here. Why the hell is it his job to go and find a baseball card for some random kid? Why is his grandmother bringing up his dead dad in order to emotionally blackmail him into doing it? This woman's a monster. This brings up another point though. The game really struggles with setting the scene of this town you're in. In some instances, it wants to be a relatively sleepy town on the coast with white picket fences where everyone knows each other, but also it's got a massive police department, yacht crimes, and white Hispanics popping cops at routine traffic stops. It can't decide if it's Scarborough or Detroit, and this idea that a police officer who, in a different timeline, got shot in the head 3 times today, now has to go and search for a baseball card for some whiny kid, and then, spoiler alert, he invites the mother and child he just saved from a hostage situation back to his house. It's all a bit uncomfortably cozy, that's all I can say. This feels a little less Jim Wall's police routine, and a little more Jim Wall's wet police dream. Anyway, after finding the bastard baseball card at the marina, you head on over to the Child Protection Services.
How are you doing, Skip?
I want my baseball card. Where's my baseball card? Leave me alone. I want my card.
Well, Laura, is there anything else that might calm him down?
I don't think so. His father gave him that card just before he died.
I love the idea that Officer Ryan knows full well that he's got the card in his possession, but he's talking to them like he has no idea what's going on, just to let Skip cry about his dead dad's baseball card a bit longer.
I found your card. Here you go, guy.
Wow! I never thought I'd see my card again.
What do you say, Skip?
No problem, Skip. How would you and your mom like to come to my house for dinner tonight?
Oh, that's not necessary.
My grandmother's a great cook. Besides, if you don't come, she'll make me eat it all myself.
Please, Mom.
Well, okay. I guess it could do us both good. Thanks, Officer Ryan.
Please. Call me
Daddy.
Thank you, Daddy.
All of this would seem exceptionally creepy, but there's something about Officer Ryan that makes me believe he has no sex drive whatsoever. He lives with his grandmother, he has the face of a man that's permanently bored, and his entire life is spent filling in paperwork. The guy might as well be a eunuch. With dinner out of the way, you take Laura and Skip out to the beach, but only after the three of you have stood in silence on the porch, contemplating your own existence. It's here on the beach that you might be wondering just what on earth the game is doing. For the past 30 minutes you've been doing no paperwork at all, but you have spent the entire time pestering women and talking about baseball cards, and now you're on a beach throwing a stick for a dog over and over again. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how the story is driven forward. It's driven forward by a dog and a piece of wood.
Well, what did you bring back this time, Waylon? This isn't the piece of driftwood we've been playing with.
Who the fuck calls the dog Waylon, you sexless mannequin? Back inside, you say goodbye to Laura and Skip, and that's the last time we ever hear from them again, so what a massive waste of time all that was. The only reason for this entire scene to have taken place is to get a piece of wood from a crate, which just happened by random chance anyway, while you were out walking your dog. Nothing about this dinner scene pushed the story forward in any way whatsoever. I can only presume it was here to try and make Officer Ryan look like an all-American good guy, but it actually just ended up making him look like someone who enjoys wearing the skin of other humans.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
I just wanted to stop by and congratulate you on your first day as a cop, Jake. I'm proud of you, son.
Thanks, Lyle. It's been a long time coming. I couldn't have done it without you.
It's been my pleas, Jake, for being such a snot-nosed little brat. You turned out all right. Who's the girl? She's pretty.
Just someone I met today. Her boyfriend beat up on the kid and then held her at gunpoint.
I'm sorry. The matter-of-fact way he states all of this is absolutely incredible. Also, need I remind you, this was his first day on the job.
So you're picking up battered women now?
No, nothing like that. She just needed a friend. Besides, you know me. The only thing I could ever pick up was junk off the beach.
See, I told you it was sexless. Also, this line is literally just here to nudge you into showing Lyle the piece of wood you found on the beach. Unless Officer Ryan literally has a history of just collecting washed up garbage to the point it's a known personality trait. Anyway, just before day one comes to a close, we find a safe in this side room that belonged to Officer Ryan's dad. The combination is his badge number, which you conveniently find in a framed image right next to the safe. Inside is a coin. You may be wondering what that coin is used for, and if I was to tell you that the coin is used to distract an old man so you can steal some boat keys, I'm pretty sure you believe me at this point because the puzzles in this game are already dumb enough. Day 2 begins with an inspection, and if you don't clean your gun, you get a telling off. If you do clean your gun, however, make sure it's not loaded first. With the inspection done and a distinct lack of shooting yourself in the face, it's time to head over to Jameson and Ryan, the detective company run by Daddy Lyle, and what was your actual dad, RIP. You show Lyle the piece of crate and tell him it's definitely something to do with your parents dying. Lyle, being an expert on sea currents for some reason, tells you that it may have come from an island, but you need a solid lead. You then arrest a drunk driver, because Jim Walls, and then you get into a car accident, and that's the end of any police work you do in this game. The implication is that you're signed off from work because you've been in a car crash, but Officer Ryan spends the rest of the game doing stuff he would normally have done anyway. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him, the skiving little shit.
Hey, Tiger, how goes the recovery?
The leg's still pretty stiff and sore, but mostly I'm just going stir crazy. I've been sitting around this house for weeks.
Easy, Jake. You're looking to be alive.
Yeah, but it's still hard to be cooped up like this.
You know, kid, you're not doing anybody any good sitting around here waiting for your disability leave to be up. Why don't you come down to the office and give me a hand? I think it'd do you good to get out of this house and keep your mind working. I could sure use you.
There's something about Lyle treating Officer Ryan like a child that really makes me uncomfortable. These men look about 5 years apart in age. Anyway, using your incredible hacking skills, you find some evidence in your dad's PC which Considering he died over a decade ago, must be one of those never obsolete computers that you used to be able to get. You find some blueprints for a warehouse and a ledger referring to automatic weapons. Print those out, show them to the guy who runs the Hall of Records at the county jail, discover that Stuart Cox, the district attorney, ran them through the system 10 years ago, and then you find more evidence on Lyle's desk and blah 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 blah. Basically, there's a lot of finding random bits of evidence in random places. Jim Walls, however, is still holding on tight to that police procedures badge of honour, so you really have to think like a paperwork jockey in order to get anything done. The next piece of the puzzle is to use the evidence on a fax machine to send it through to the police headquarters in order to get them to run it through a database to get more information. I can't think of a puzzle game with a more boring sounding solution than this one. The rest of day 2 plays out a lot like this. You travel from place to place following a breadcrumb trail where half of the breadcrumbs have already been eaten by wildlife. At times you'll have no idea what to do, and it generally means you haven't spoken to everyone 400 times. Or maybe you didn't realise that the heel of a boot could be moved. It's all a combination of tenuous and strenuous, but never mind, because it's time for day 3. Down at the docks again, you use your shiny coin to make an old man go and check his coin catalogue, giving you time to steal the keys to a boat. The leaps of logic required in this game make you feel like you're at a trampoline park. The only reason you need this key is to get on a boat to get another key, then you need to go and get another key in order to drive another boat to the place where you use the key you got when you used the other key to key the boat, key boat. On this tropical island, you'll find a warehouse, but only after you've thrown a fishing net on a dog. Of course, here you need to power a wall panel in order to use a switch that opens a hidden door. This is the only puzzle in the game I actually like because it gives you all of the hints, all of the tools, and all of the solutions in one room. And it just works. Even though you don't particularly know what the outcome is going to be, you know there's going to be an outcome. It might have taken 3 in-game days to get to a puzzle that's actually good, but at least there is one. Inside the secret room, you find a cache of guns, which is exactly what you were looking for. Solid evidence that you're in America, but now you have to leave the place and get back to Lyle without leaving a single trace that you've been there. That's the idea, anyway, but once I got back to Grandma's house, she tells me that Lyle called and said the warehouse has been cleared out and that I must have left a piece of evidence. I left a switch turned on. These criminals are fucking geniuses. If someone came into my house and left a switch on, there is absolutely no way I'd presume a police officer had been snooping around, even if he was stood in the same room as me. Day 4 begins, and all pretense that this game is about being a police officer are out of the window. First of all, Bradford Green is back and he's locked himself away on the boat again, but there's no talking solution here. Instead, you set the damn boat on fire. Take that, police protocol.
Come on out, Green. It's over. All we've got to do is let it burn.
I've got a live grenade. If you pukes try to take me in, you're gonna be fish bait. I'll do it, man. I'll do it.
You use that grenade, and there's nothing left of you but a big greasy spot on the deck. Give it up, Green. You know you've got no way out of this.
Careful, Jake! He pulled the pin on that grenade!
Come on, Green. You don't want to die. Put the pin in the grenade and come along quietly.
Bitch, kid, cop. I should have killed you when I had the chance.
Hand grenades are dangerous, Green. You should know better than to play with these.
Back on the island, you're met with a gunman. Finally, a time to actually use my gun and, No, actually. Possibly the first game in the world to give you a gun and never let you actually use it. So how do we get past the gunman? Yeah, this game just went off the rails, and unfortunately, it's pretty much done. Back in the warehouse, you open up the secret door, and you're given the final scene of the game.
Freeze, butt flaps. Drop your gun and put your hands in the air.
In your dreams, puke.
It's over, Nico. Put it down or you'll get dropped like a bad date.
I'm not going down alone. There's bigger fish than me. I need to try that again. I'm not going down alone. There's bigger fish than me. Let's deal.
No deals. Drop the gun. Then you can talk to the DA.
Fuck that.
Stuart Cox, I suspected you were dirty, but this...
Don't get your hopes up, kid. You had hard evidence to put me away.
Looks like some hard time for you, Nico. Justice has a long memory, and you're going down for murdering John and Jackie Ryan.
You can't oh, fucking hell. You can't hang that old rap on me. You got no proof.
I saw you do it, Nico. With my own eyes, I saw you do it.
I ain't believing that. This is bullshit, man.
Do you have any idea what the other cons will do to you when they find out you were the DA?
Isn't over yet, boy. I've still got plenty of options.
What a damp ending. No shootout, no more grenade throwing, just a bit of talking, and then an epilogue to see us out. Blue Force then. It's definitely a game, I'll give it that much, but it's one that swings and misses at most of the things it attempts. The puzzles you're required to solve never actually feel like puzzles. They often feel like footprints in the dark that lead you to a conclusion, and in order to beat the game you have to blindly put your feet in exactly the correct places at exactly the correct time in order to make any progress. It starts off as a plodding police adventure before coming off the rails entirely, and just as things start to ramp up, it abruptly stops. While the game takes place over 4 days, each day is 25% shorter than the day that preceded it, meaning the bulk of your gameplay is...
I've got the best garage sale in town, Ryan!
And with only one grenade thrown the entire game, it makes me wish that Jim Walls had had the Jim Balls to open things up a little more, and allow you to go more maverick with your maneuvers. How much more fun would it be to allow the player to solve these puzzles in multiple different ways, allowing you to slide into the good cop or bad cop role as you saw fit throughout? But anytime you do anything that isn't prescribed by the game's wild logic, you're dead. Game over. Start again. So, Blue Force, 20 years later, was it worth playing through? No. That's the end of the review.